I'll just tell the story, or read it. The story of how Danny and I were married last July in a Manhattan courtroom with our son Kevin beside us began 12 years earlier in a dark, damp subway station. Danny called me that day, frantic. "I found a baby," he shouted. "I called 911, but no one's coming. Get down here and flag down a police car or something." By nature, Danny is a remarkably calm and centered person, with a pulse so quiet and steady that I often questioned whether he had a pulse at all. So when I felt his heart pounding through the phone line, I knew I had to run. As I sprinted down 15th Street to the ACE subway exit on 8th Avenue, the 4 words echoed inside my head: I found a baby. By the time I arrived, the police had already gotten there, and Danny was alone, standing at the top of the subway exit and staring down. I followed his gaze to the steps, and together we watched a policeman ascend from below carrying a bundle wrapped in a black sweatshirt. A tingling chill ran up my spine when he reached the top step, and I saw the baby's face. Danny grabbed my hand and squeezed. The baby was transported to St. Vincent's Hospital, where nurses nicknamed him Baby Ace. In the following weeks, Danny told the story over and over again, first to every local TV news station, then to family members and co-workers and friends and acquaintances. And what nobody knew or could have predicted at the time was that Danny had not just saved an abandoned infant, he had found our son. A little over 3 months later, Danny was subpoenaed to appear in family court to give an account of finding the baby. After he finished, the judge turned to him and unexpectedly asked, "Would you be interested in adopting this baby?" The question stunned everyone in the courtroom except for Danny, who simply answered, "Yes, but I know it's not that easy." "Well, it can be," she assured him before issuing court orders to commence with making him, and by extension me, parents-to-be. My first reaction when I heard went something like, "Are you insane? How could you even say yes without consulting me?" Let's just say I nailed the jerk part of knee-jerk. In the 3 years as a couple, we had never discussed adopting a child. Our lives were not geared for child rearing. I was an aspiring playwright, and I was working as a part-time word processor, and he was a respected yet wildly underpaid social worker. We didn't live together, and I had a roommate sleeping behind a partition in my living room to help pay the rent. And even if our financial and logistical circumstances had been different, responsible parenting entails patience, sacrifice, and selflessness, traits Danny may have naturally possessed, but ones I often had in short supply. But here was fate, practically giving us a baby, and how could we refuse? Eventually, my fearful mind spent, my heart seized control to assure me I could handle parenthood. A caseworker arranged for us to meet the baby at his foster home in early December. Danny held the fragile baby first, then placed him in my arms, and in order to protect myself from future heartache, I had convinced myself that I could not and would not become inextricably attached, because I didn't trust the system and was sure that there would be obstacles ahead. But with the baby's eyes staring up at me and all the innocence and hope he represented, I was completely hooked and falling in love. Danny snapped a picture, and when the flash hit the room, it hit me. I finally understood how Danny could say yes to the judge without hesitation. He had already gotten hooked the night he found the baby. The two of them had bonded in the solemn and uninterrupted minutes alone before the police arrived, before the news crews arrived, and before I arrived. But I was with Danny now, and our beautiful little boy was safely tucked in the crease of my elbow. We were told the process, which included an extensive home study and parenting classes, could take up to 9 months, so we figured on having ample time to rearrange our lives, for the baby. But 1 week later, on December 20th, when Danny and I appeared in front of the judge to officially state our intention to adopt, she asked, "Would you like him for the holidays?" Holidays? I mean, did she mean Christmas, which was only a few days away? Yeah, she did. This time, we both said yes. The judge grinned and then ordered the transition of the baby into our custody. Our 9-month window of thoughtful preparation was, in an instant, compacted to 36 hours. We were getting a baby for Christmas. We picked up our new son from the foster care agency that Friday. Friends and relatives chipped in and braved the rush of holiday shoppers to make sure that we had everything we needed. And then reality set in. Danny and I had become responsible for keeping another human being alive. Our first night together as a family, while Kevin slept soundly and peacefully in his new home, we did not. We sat on the floor next to the borrowed crib and hung on every breath, on every twitch and every stretch, and marveled in disbelief that we were now his parents. We spent the next year as his foster parents, and during that time we often wondered about the judge. Why did she ask Danny to adopt? Did she know that he was a social worker and therefore thought he would make a good parent? Would she have asked him if she knew he was gay and in a relationship? At the final hearing, and after she assigned the adoption order, I raised my hand. Your Honor, we've been wondering why you asked Danny if he was interested in adopting. I had a hunch. Was I wrong? She said, rose from her chair, congratulated us, and exited the courtroom. And that was how we left it. Baby Ace became Kevin and grew from an infant to a smart and very inquisitive boy. And, that is until 2011. So we move ahead 11 years from the adoption day. And New York State now allows Danny and I to get legally married. Why don't you ask the judge who performed my adoption to marry you and Dad? Kevin suggested one morning on our walk to school. Great idea, I replied. Would you like to meet her? Sure, you think she'd remember me? I said, of course, there's only one way to find out. So after dropping Kevin off, I composed a query letter and sent it to the catch-all email address of Manhattan Family Court, and fully expecting it to get lost in the mix. But however, within hours, a court attorney called to say that, of course, the judge remembered us and would be delighted to perform our ceremony. So last July, we ventured back to family court for the first time in over 10 years. The judge was nervous because she was about to come face to face with the results of one of her placement decisions. And what if Kevin wasn't happy and wished he had different parents? And Kevin was nervous too. When he was a toddler, Danny and I had made him a storybook that explained how we became a family, and it included an illustration of the judge, gavel in hand. And now a character from his book was about to jump off the page as a real person. And what if she didn't approve of the way he turned out? Kevin reached out his hand to shake hers. She said, "Can I give you a hug?" And she asked. And when they separated, the judge asked him about school, his interests, hobbies, friends, and expressed how thrilled she was that we were there. And when we finally remembered the purpose of our visit, and Danny and I moved into position to exchange our vows, I reflected on the improbable circumstances that delivered us all to that moment. We weren't supposed to be there. Two men with a son we had never dreamed of by our side, getting married by a woman who changed and enriched our lives more than she would ever know. But there we were, thanks to a fateful discovery and a judge's hunch. Thank you.
Give it up for Peter Mercurio. And let me just say, Kevin and Peter's son, Danny's here, and their son Kevin is here tonight, right? Where are you guys? Where are you guys? Will you guys put your hands up? They're sitting right over there. Give it up for Peter, Kevin, and Danny. Unbelievable fun story. It's gonna